So welcome guys. So in today's video, I'll be guiding you on how to implement our FastAPI Authentication wrapper. So the application, the one we've been building, so it's now done. So I just want to take you through how we can now implement it into our existing application. So the package, basically you can use it in an existing application or you can use it in a new application. So in my case, I have an existing application here. So this application Uploader is for inquiring YouTube information about a channel. So basically I just have got two endpoints which I'm using in this case. So one is for getting information about a specific channel, and then another one is for searching a channel. So if for example we look at the application, you can see it here. Yeah, so you can see basically we have got two endpoints. So we have one for channel information and channel search. So if for example I try this one and then I search my channel, so I have a channel called Kenya Developers. So guys, you can also support me by subscribing, commenting, liking, sharing, and also hitting the notification bell icon. Okay. Yes. So if I try to execute that, for example, you can see the channel is Kenya. Title, custom URL is at Kenya Developers, and then it's a new channel. I just created it some times back, but I've not been uploading videos. Okay, we get information like view count 28. We also have subscriber count and this one. So this information are actually coming from YouTube. So for example, this is your application. So you want to protect this application. So probably maybe if I were building an application like this, and then I want to only authorize users to be able to do this. So probably I need to give them a service like a streaming service, maybe YouTube streaming, but then I'm uploading them onto my channel, things like that, and also maybe capturing the videos for membership, those videos with membership accounts. So probably I might be a member and then decided to now give them access to people in my platform. Okay, so that one can come in handy in this case. So probably I need to make sure like those guys accessing this stuff are authenticated. So and this application is a FastAPI application, and probably I don't want to build another authentication backend on this. Probably I have an authentication service somewhere which maybe I might need to connect with different application. Yeah. So this is my FastAPI application. I'll just install that package and then now work with it. So in this case now, I'll now take you through installation, configuration, and then how we can be able to test. So in this, at the moment, I've got also our authentication backend, yeah, so that this authentication backend can be any application, can build it on any maybe language, yeah. You can use JavaScript, things like that. So this is the application. Yeah, you can see we are at version 0.14. I just made a simple update 16 minutes ago at the time of recording of this video. So probably in the time you might be seeing this video in 2060. Yeah. So, but just make sure you subscribe, okay? Yes, so to install, I'll be using UV, but you can just use pip install. Either way, it still works. So I'll just come here already. So this is an existing application, okay? So this is the Django backend, and then this is my existing application. So I want to integrate it into an existing application. If you want to build it from scratch on a new application still, then you can again do it on that. Yeah. So and also I'm using the HTTP client. So if for example your FastAPI will be doing a server to server communication, that this package also provides us as a client and then attaches a user to that HTTP client. So you can as well, instead of installing those again the HTTP client and configure those ones, you can again just go with this. But in case if for example my application already was using the HTTPX and the package is also using HTTPX, so I don't need to maybe alter certain stuff up in that case. But then the package doesn't interfere with this application. Okay. So that's the goodness of that. So at whatever stage you are in your development, it will still work. So now without wasting much time, let's now go to how we can install. So I'll just copy this like this, and then I'll come back here, and then I'll just clear, and then once I've cleared that, I'll do UV add, and then say that. So once I've done that, it will run and install that. While installing, we can have a look at the package. So if you look at this one, it says it's a lightweight plug and play. It's a lightweight plug and play authentication wrapper FastAPI application that delegates authorization to an external service. Okay, so you just install, yeah, nothing much. And then this package allows you to it allows your FastAPI to accept incoming requests with an authorization header, forward the token to a remote authentication service, which can be on Java, can be on Python, can be on JavaScript, can be on Go, can be on Rust, can be on C, whichever language you're using. Okay, and then it injects a validated user object directly to your route handler. Yeah, so in this case, this one it will depend on what your backend is returning. Yeah, so it might be something else, maybe just a text, maybe just a status of a user whether authenticated or not. So that information will be injected, and then based on your use case, then you can use that. Those will be the one, maybe or your team will be the one building the backend. They can show you like if you do this, then this is what we are returning after installing this package and then sending those configuration to us. Yeah, so in this case you can see features. We just have a simple dependency injection which is authorized user client. It's then accept that token and then validate it on an external service, authentication service, and then there are minimal configuration. In your environment you only need two. So for example, if you come here and see this, we just have only these two. I'll just copy those ones like this, and then now I'm sure it has completed installing. You can see version 0.14. Then in my environment already, this is my project. It already has some of these configuration settings. Yeah, so it already has some. So I'll just hide a bit like that so you don't steal them. Okay. Yes, so this is what we need. But then for the service auth URL, this is the your backend domain. Yeah, so where your backend service authorization service is. So in my case, I'm running it at localhost, but it can be live. Yeah, of course, when you're doing this thing, we're doing it in production, it will be live. So this will be your domain where your backend authentication service is. So in my case, I'm running it in my domain, which is 8010, that is localhost, and then this is the path where you are supposed to send the authorization. Okay, this is the path where you need to send the authorization. In my case, I have it here, so I'll just copy it here. You can see, I'll just remove this one. Yeah. Yes, so in my case, I'll be sending it here at endpoint me. Yeah, so this is how it will be in a production environment. So this path won't change, but the domain will surely change. So I'll just copy this. Yeah, so once I've copied that, then I'll now move and then set it here. Okay, yeah, so this is a Django. In my case, I'm using Django as my authentication backend. So this Django, yeah. So this is it. Okay. So once I have that, I'll now come back here. So once I have these setups, then I'll now come where I want to now integrate. You can see in the package I show you how now you can come up with this configuration folder. It organizes your project into standard. Yeah. So if you look at config, I talked about config, I talked about dependencies, and then now we have this YouTube. Okay. So in app we just have this, nothing much here. I'm sure you understand if you worked with FastAPI, you understand this what it does, and then you know this is just a creator function, and then I'm using it here. I'm just using it here. Yeah. So that is all in that. So in my routes are in YouTube. So you can see I've just grouped it domain based. Yeah. So I have YouTube, for example, if maybe in future I decide to go with Vimeo, I can again have one for Vimeo and then do the configuration within. So it's domain based so that you don't split your files everywhere. Yes, so in this YouTube, we have the controllers, we have the dependencies, and then we have the routes. Yeah? So inside the routes, we have the main, so you can see where we're injecting this, and then, yeah. So for example, I just want to test this, yeah, inside this router. So inside this route, information, yeah. So before I look for YouTube channel information, I'll just try to authenticate that request, yeah. And okay, I want to know like who is sending the request. So in this case, I'll just after. Okay, sorry about that. So in this case, I'll just follow this. You can see after doing the files like that, after setting this one, the .env file, then I'll now come and copy this. This is what we want. Yeah, this is what we'll do. So we'll just come here and then on top, just say from Auth Wrapper, just import, just like that. And then we'll copy this. Once we copy, we'll say because I already have client here, I'll just rename it like client, and then I'll paste like that. Yeah. So I can't do it below here because this is required. Yeah. This is as a default, so you can't put it after. Yes. So that is that. So if, for example, now I go back, you'll see. Yeah, if I come here, you can see in this, we only have a channel name. But now if I try to click on refresh, you'll see the authorization header has been injected. This one, yeah. So this has been injected. So and now because this OpenAPI client normally has an issue when trying to send the authorization directly like this. Yeah. So we'll use a HTTP client request. Things like the ones like Postman, but in my case I'll be using HTTP. So I'll just click on this. I'll open it here. You can see I'll just doing some random test. Yeah, you can see that. So if I try now to send this, so if I copy, my first API is running at on port 002. So if I try to send this, yeah, from this you can see the endpoint here. We are accepting it at if I try this and then test, maybe just test. Of course it will fail, but then our route is here. So you can see 002 version 1 with YouTube channels and then info. So if I come here the same, so I'll be using this one. So probably I want to search my channel. So I'll just say Kenya developers. Developers like that, yeah. So I'll click on that. If I click, I'm being told invalid header format because now I have the bearer, but we don't have the token. So if I remove the token, send. I'm sure you understand this, yeah. We are being told authorization header required. So just do bearer, and then we'll need to log in. Yeah. How do we log in? So I'll create a new request here from the Django one, or I can go to the Django side and log in. Either way. So maybe I just go back to Django, yeah, and then log in. Yeah. So already I've created this for testing. Yeah. So these are just dummy data for testing. So I want to log in. To log in, I need to pass in the email and password for my backend. Remember, this is my backend. Maybe your backend requires just username and maybe password, whichever. Maybe sending an OTP, and then after doing the OTP, then they'll give you the token. That one, it's you like who have to decide. But in my case, I'm just using email and password to log in. So if I click on this to send, it will send. Waiting currently. So waiting for that. We're expecting to see some. After some few minutes, few seconds, we'll get the tokens. So we have access and the refresh. So what we want is the access one. So I'll copy the access token, and then I'll go back to my request where I was sending that, and then I'll paste the access token like that. So if I send this one, I'm now supposed to see the information about the Kenya developers channel. So if I click on that and wait for it for some few seconds, it's contacting YouTube API, and then now you see, now we have the information. So you can see currently have views of 28, then subscribers we have 9, and then video count we have 2. So it's a new channel, and then just have demonstrated, and then now you can see we were able to get this. If I send a fake, an invalid token, for example, remove E and replace with small e. So if I pass in a wrong one, then I'll get data errors. Yeah? So first, the HTTPX, it returns your status, and then it returns your dictionary of the errors. So from here, you can now just capture this. So you now get this one, and then be able to capture that, because now this one will apply to everyone. Yeah. So not that for you, it will bring some certain kind of data payload. So this is the error. We have a status colon, then we have the object carrying the error. So this one, once you have this, now you can know like what is there. So these are unauthorized because the token is invalid. Okay. Yeah, so because that one we were restricting this. So if, for example, you are using this, you can just pass it here after this. But remember, I've said this thing carries the user object, yeah, depending on what the backend will send you. So if, for example, I go back to the package and then we look at it from here, you can see here. So direct access to authenticated user. So you can do client.user depending on the variable name that you say it. So once it has been authorized, it will have the user object in it. Okay. So if you try to click on that user object, then you'll find it. Okay. Yes. So if I try now to get who has been authenticated, yeah. So I'll print just for you to see underscore client.user. Yeah. So if we do that, and then we come back here on this client, and then if I send, we won't get anything. So I'll just return it back to the normal one, just E like that, and then try to send. So if I send, I'll get the information, but then now I'll again show you like who's been authorized for this. So if I come down here to now you can see what we have. We have user objects. We have the ID of the user. We have the email, which is sure the one we used to log in. Of course, we can't return password here, and you know why. So and then we have the superuser false, status false, provide. Now remember, this is a Django, and these are user object. Yeah. So we are actually capturing the user object from here. Yes. So yes, that is that. And if you have any question, just comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to any of your question. Okay. Yeah. And that is that. So thank you guys. And before I forget, remember to share, subscribe, comment, like, hit the notification bell icon so that you may get notified whenever I drop a new video. So